Afternoon all. For the first time in the Kingscrusher Cafe on Chess-Q, we had some team consultation games as I was playing against Team Cafe. So just need a team captain. So I'm just saying to Edward that he'll be captain, and then I'll just challenge Edward to a 30-minute game and change the topic here. So I'm just going to paste his name and change the topic. So join the game. Now if you're in the cafe, you can then see the live games on the live games and click in the live games and Gambits on such a game. So I'm going to now challenge Edward to a 30-minute game. Some of you have wanted me to see the thoughts in longer games, so you'll get thoughts here. Basically, it was great fun. I really enjoyed it actually last night. So I'm challenging Edward to a 30-minute game. So this is a different kind of video, obviously. 30 minutes. So I'm playing e4, and what I do is spectators ignore spectators, and so Edward accrues spectators. This is what happened last night. But it took her 1 or 2 games to warm up to get a number of spectators built up, say about 25, and it got very interesting, you know, I guess, for more people involved. So I'll just put high all, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling when the spectator count goes up. So I'll just mention ticked ignore spectators. So there's 4 spectators now. I think I'll play King's Gambit. Okay, so now there's 6. It builds up basically, but I'm not able to see the kibitzing. I can only see Edward Owen kibitzing. Other than that, your team has privacy. I'm just making that. So anyway, I'm doing this video as further evidence. This is my screen. I haven't got them on the monitor. I haven't got a secret account anywhere else. I'm just don't really want to go into the private analysis. So I will use max 10 minutes. Okay, so basically, we're using a 30-minute game in this respect on Chess-Q with the spectator facility to make it a consultation game. So I'm just going to use maximum 10 minutes. So I've got 9:53 basically. We just chop out the 2. I've got 9:53 left. So King's Gambit. So it's been accepted. So I've got the choice of either knight f3 or bishop c4. I'm going to choose bishop c4, hoping the team might vote for queen h4. But if they've been following the videos, obviously queen h4 I think is not such a hot move. Although it disrupts me from being able to castle, you know, I'm going to gain a tempo. I'm going to build the centre rapidly later. You know, knight f3 to gain a tempo from the queen. d4, try and put pressure on f4. If later black tries to cling on to the pawn, then I'm going to play king g1 and h4, where the rook will be protected. It won't be pinned from a queen on h5. I'll undermine the structure and hopefully get an advantage because black will have isolated pawns, fragmented. So that's one of the main plans I've mentioned in a previous video. So yeah, I mean, I think some of you have mentioned, you know, putting my thoughts to longer games. So here it is. In fact, this is a 30-minute game, so there's lots of time for commentary. And if you want to join the team games, we've really just started them last night as an experiment, and it seems to be a great fun experiment. Obviously bishop e7 is being suggested. Okay, that's a bit naughty that I'm seeing that, but he's like the team captain, but it's not really why it was suggested. Maybe they're ruling out queen h4s. So basically here, you know, I can either promote further this game, or I can mention more about the position. But I don't know, if you want to play the King's Gambit, you know, bishop c4 is an interesting alternative, I think, to knight f3. I don't know if there's been a refutation of it. There's a recent game, Eames against Adams, where Eames didn't seem to play it that well after, because there was a quick d5 he took, but he kind of, I think he took with the pawn or something rather than the bishop, and he could have played knight c3, or I think it was the neglect to play knight c3. There was something wrong with that game. It wasn't an ideal representation for a King's Gambit. And I heard actually Adams had lost a King's Gambit game in the club league match a few years ago against Andrew Martin. I don't think the King's Gambit is out of action just yet, and I think like David Bronstein has numerous games which I haven't covered yet. It's a real shame. There's all these games I want to cover. They're on the back burner for video annotating. That's why I think I've been attracted to do games in batch recently, to video annotate games in batch. There's just so many games I want to get through and look at. Okay, so I guess, you know, knight f3, I'm inviting bishop h4, but it's a tempo loss, so I'm going to play it anyway. I'm going to try and just build a centre. So knight f3. I don't care about king f1 in particular, or I mean bishop h4. I think I'm tempted to leave the knight though on f3, just to play king f1 if bishop h4. Is there a reason for that I can point to? I don't know, you know. I just think the queen is now loaded up protecting the bishop. That's why I think I'm just going to leave the queen having to protect the bishop. So I'm going to play this. Okay, so we've now got 11 spectators. Oh, I can see their ratings. That's secret information. So there's not too many are too strong, it seems, at this stage. And as I say, we had about 5 or 6 of these games last night. So if you want to play consultation games against me, come to the Kingscrusher Cafe and then just click on the live games tab, and then you should see one of the live games. You just click into it and then, you know, join the spectators. Okay. So what can I say here? If, you know, knight f6, obviously I'm just going to take on h4. Knight e7, I'll just take on h4. If the queen moves come out, I want to try and build the centre. As I say, I think that's one of the points of gambits. If you can get either, you know, better quality pieces, and you can get better quality through control of the centre quite often. So here I'm going to go for it, d4. I've achieved many of my aims of playing the King's Gambit, which wasn't, you know, necessarily to get a quick attack. It was to build the centre. Maybe if I can try and regain this pawn as well. Obviously g5 looks wrong here, because I can just maybe then take on h4, forcing g takes, and then bishop f4. I don't think queen f6 is that dangerous there. I say that, like bishop e3 for example, I'll be protecting d4. So I think g5 is like terrible. The fragmentation of the pawn structure after knight h4 is huge. There'll be 2 sets of double pawns. So, you know, this is a great, I think, thing. I don't know if this was a theoretical antidote that someone just recommended, but it looks kind of terrible, really. And as I say, this isn't main line or anything. The main line would have been the Roy Lopez, not trying to play something from the Romantic era. But I think it's the trump cards, the favourable imbalances that you can aim ambitiously to get. Whether that's theory or not, who cares? You know, a lot of GMs, I think they're moving away from more theoretical paths, trying to get advantages, trying to keep tension in the position. You know, playing things like Catalan systems with positional sacrifices, because they want to keep the tension, they want to keep the pressure, they want to make the opponents work hard at the board. I don't think anyone really wants to turn chess into a parrot game, having to learn loads and loads of theory and then inserting 1 or 2 of your own moves. I don't think that would be a nice way for chess to go. It certainly hasn't been my chess style, as you know. So, okay, someone says they don't like bishop g4. I don't think that suffers an immediate refutation. It looks like f7, c3, queen b3 might be dangerous. I can still, In fact, bishop f3, gf, and then maybe the g file could be used. So c3 is a possibility. In fact, here it's becoming more of a distinct possibility, because imagine bishop g4, I'll be on b7 and f7. So I think I will actually consider bishop f4, or should I wait for bishop g4? I could wait for bishop g4, maybe bishop f4, bishop g4, c3. Then. There's also queen f6 to factor in here, though, hitting e3 and d4. If bishop e3, I don't know, bishop g4, c3, bishop f3, maybe that's okay. Can't see anything too wrong with either c3 or bishop f4. So I think, I don't know, I'm tempted for bishop f4. I'll play bishop f4. Actually, looking at this, queen f6, bishop e3, there's no bishop h3 here, I'll just take, there's nothing going on here. Bishop g4, then c3 might be forced. I know there's also bishop e3, but c3 is dual purpose, isn't it? Because really queen b3 hits b7 and f7, as well as supporting the d4 pawn. So, I mean, the disruptions of development's evident here. If knight f6 I just take, this constant commitment to the queen, protecting the bishop is evident. So maybe that justifies not, playing the knight h4 earlier. So the liabilities, though, there's theoretical tactical liabilities here. The bishops are loose, they're not protected. Okay. The queen is not really attacking that because there's knight h4. So I could actually play knight c3 here, actually, if I wanted not only to defend that, but also threaten knight d5. But then if knight f6, maybe I've even got e5 there. Takes the knight d5, hitting c7. I think I'm tempted for knight c3 instead of c3. Because if c3, that is shutting out actually a valuable square potentially for the knight, which seems even more tempting now for this knight d5. So I think knight c3 it is. But I am wary, look, there's two loose bishops here, not protected. But black hasn't got the pressure to try and make that an exploitable tactical vulnerability, these bishops. So really, I think the tactical vulnerability is this queen, the major one, is the queen, having to still protect the bishop. So knight f6 is ruled out, natural development's ruled out. Not only that now, there's a big threat of knight d5. Actually, that protects f4, so if queen takes e4, there's knight takes h4 as well. I think, to be fair, I think the team's almost handicapped in a way a little bit last night, because people have different plans, and I think the bigger the team, it gets even more complicated trying to get everyone's say. So sometimes the play gets worse the more people. That's the funny thing about chess, because I've noticed that with big consultation games, that sometimes the more people involved, the lower the quality of the moves played. Some sort of common denominator, superficial move, often gets played, when sometimes in chess you really need to think out of the box in certain positions. It's the details of the position which force you to have to play dynamically. And I think playing positional sacrifice is an example that sometimes the position demands it, and you really need out of the box thinking to actually play the position properly. So, and the effect of people not, with dynamic thinking, the more and more of those non-dynamic thinkers you get in a team who are voting moves, the more likely the move is gravitating towards a superficially solid move, but actually it's not really fitting in with the details of the position. Of course, then you do get strong teams sometimes when engines are allowed. That's totally different ballpark kind of game, which is very clinical and often ends in draws. So you can't win either way in team games. If you're playing a bunch of computers, it's going to be a draw. If you're playing a bunch of humans, Sometimes, but there was one game I lost last night against the team, and there was one draw. There were very exciting games, and that was only like 25 players though. I think the team's got to gel a bit, and for a good team captain. But here it seems Black hasn't played the opening particularly well, hasn't reacted particularly well to this gambit. So I'm tempted, knight d5, queen e4. But then, okay, my bishop's protected. But if I take on c7, I'm destabilising my position. You know, king d7, knight takes, he could just take, they could take, and my knight's stranded. So really, I don't know, knight takes h4 seems tempting. I don't want to lose on time, actually. So I better move. Knight d5, queen e4. There isn't any tactical solution there. So knight takes h4, g takes. What about just accepting the fragmented pawns there? I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to just try and fragment the pawns now, as I previously mentioned. So g takes, and then maybe just move the knight back. Wouldn't it be funny if I got crushed from this position? Even though visually it looks kind of appealing at the moment. So anyway, G takes F or G takes H4. So G takes F. So knight D5, I lose the knight and I probably lose the other one as it gets stranded on A8. So maybe I think G takes F4, knight F3. Okay, so here knight D5, queen E4. There's no knight F6 or anything. I wonder about just queen f3, just supporting e4. Oh, I lose d4. Whoops. Queen d3 might invite knight b4, but then maybe queen d2. So I think queen d3, and then I can bring the rook in, and then maybe knight d5. Knight d5 immediately, I think queen e4. So I think I'm going to go for queen d3. But then there's queen f6. Whoops. Oh, knight d5, and then I'm protecting the knight and attacking the queen. So queen d3 it is. In fact, I think I want to tuck the king when I can. I don't like this queen f6 business. In fact, knight b4 and then queen f6 looks dangerous. Also, I've used quite a big allocation of my promised 10 minutes, so I'm probably going to lose on time actually this game. So I don't know. Okay, so queen d3 here, but the development of black doesn't look too strong here. Knight f6, rook e1 maybe, and then I don't have to worry about queen f6s at least. So that's got a logical thing behind it that I can play rook e1, but I think I want to tuck my king to g1 because queen f6 otherwise looks kind of dangerous. Although maybe there's g3, maybe it's not that dangerous. G3. In fact, queen f6, if it wasn't for knight d5, then queen d4, but takes knight c7. Okay, so knight d5 is saving me here as well. Okay, so I've only got 5 minutes 48 basically on the 10-minute idea. I don't know why I mentioned about the 10 minute. Should have said 15, I think, for commentary. But okay. So what's going to be the next move? This is dramatic now. So knight f6, I'm thinking rook e1. Knight b4. Whoa! Okay, let's just quickly support this bishop without thinking too much, because the bishop's now blocked in by the pawn. I don't like the vulnerability of this bishop. Without being able to play g5, queen f6 is not that harmful here. So g5 I think just keeps a bit of solidity. Okay, I'm going to play knight d5 now. Now really I think I want to connect my rooks, maybe like king f2, rook e1 and then e5. Also maybe c3 might be useful, or e5 at some point, or even bishop b5 and queen c4. Maybe c6 is a bit vulnerable. No, bishop f3 is a new possibility for black. So queen e6 is a disaster, knight c7. Queen d7, the knight's kind of stuck. Knight e7, knight f6 then. But say queen d7, do I want to play like c3? Oh, what happened there? Oh. So queen d7 c3. I really want to get the rooks in, maybe on the e file. If black's going to castle queenside, c3 will be useful actually for b4. So if black castles queenside, because knight e7's ruled out, then b4, then maybe b5. Now there's this Bronstein game where black did castle queenside. So that's another thing to bear in mind with the King Gambit, that it's not guaranteed black's going to castle on the king side. But here I like that the bishop's blocked in. In terms of quality pieces, to improve the quality of my pieces, you know, maybe king f2 and then rook he1. This rook's not doing anything. I think that's the worst piece. King f2 would actually... Oh! I think I have to offer a take back. I'm going to show them that move and offer them a take back. Okay, so now I think b4, so the game lives on. But this, I think this is my worst piece here. And in fact, even in this situation, knight e7, knight f6 is winning a piece because it's forking queen and bishop, and the queen can't protect the bishop there. So knight e7 is ruled out here. I've got this nice access to f6 because of that g5 weakened f6. Okay, but I think this is my worst piece. This rook on h1. b5 is also answerable with knight a5. In this Bronstein game, which I haven't yet video annotated, the opponent actually literally played a5 to provoke something like b5. Or sorry, to provoke b8, knight a5, when there was no actual exploitable weaknesses. A very clever move. And Bronstein, he couldn't take on a5. I have to show you that game. He played actually b5 and then later went for the b6 square, which was weakened by a5 actually, technically. But here b5 knight a5, and I have to worry that I haven't really got targets. So if I'm going to play b5, maybe a4 a5 first, b5, then knight moves back, then b6. Then if ab I'm opening the a file, I'm weakening, I'm undermining the structure, which is c7 d6 with b6. That's all positionally motivated, which is a lot superior. So just b5 here, knight a5, and then there might be a restrained blockade on the position with b6 later. So I think the way to play this, there's two issues. One issue is non-existent. If black's got slightly low quality pieces here, the bishop's slightly hemmed in by the pawn, the knight's kind of can't develop naturally because of knight f6. This one could develop there. That's one's possibility. I've got this issue and this issue, and do I want to attack the king? It's going to take more resources up than just b5 because that's inviting an easy blockade with knight a5. So I think something like king f2, a4, a5, b5, and then get the rook to b1, then b6. That should be leading to victory here without, independent of obvious howlers of a mistake, you know, like knight e7. But what is black going to do? Maybe knight ce7 is a recommendable move here. This bishop's otherwise not doing much here. Maybe bishop g6 to bishop h5 to g6 though would pin that pawn against the queen. But do I need to be worried about the opponent's possibilities here? I guess if I improve this piece with king f2, then rook he1 will be possible to support e4. So the team could be getting into critical time pressure. Oh dear, oh dear. It's again losing a piece. Who suggested this? In fact, the queen's lost here. Oh dear. It seems the team's got a very damaged position from the King's Gambit. Unable to develop like naturally. So having to play a strong move here to stay in the game. It's the second time. Okay, what are the ratings, you might ask? Well, you know, I don't know. These are kind of typical ratings, and it's basically I think there were some higher rated ones last night, and I did lose and draw as I say. Just during the day now, at about 5:30. This is the rating distribution. But if I do a rematch after, there might be some stronger players guiding the team in subsequent games. I think this is a good move now to challenge this big knight on d5. Now I do wonder about the whole b5 thing now and this rook on h1. Maybe b5 is plausible here, but then knight d5, bishop d5, knight f6. I retreat the bishop, and again this e4 is a bit weak, so maybe king f2. I think king f2 might be worth it now. It protects f3. It means I've got rook he1. Okay, maybe I should have played knight e3 though. Actually, that might not have been such a hot move. Actually, knight e3 would have been a plausible alternative. Oh well. I hope it's not too fatal. I'll put the bishop back over here. The pieces are not looking too bad. Maybe, rook hf1, or maybe I can target f7. I don't need to go for the king over there. So I'm going to do this. Maybe knight g6, king g1. In fact, I could have taken f7. No, it would be too dangerous with rook hf8. But if I play king g1, so knight g6, rook f4 will be on f7. The fragmented pawns are another issue, especially f7. So this is a bit cheeky manual castling. And I can even double rook. So forget b5, a4. This whole switch of plan. f7 is an obvious target here. I don't know. I've sort of sometimes sensed this just from calculation. You sense what the weakness is strategically. And here, as well as improving that worst piece, so f7 is a natural target classically in the King's Gambit. So it doesn't matter if black's castled queenside. Again, f7 is still a natural target, sitting without an adjacent pawn. So it's more of a weakness than usual, and it's more of a weakness because it's more exploitable, because white has the f file pressure. But is e4 weak? Is this pawn potentially a dangerous form pawn? I don't really think so. Is e4 weak? That's another question. Maybe rook ae1 is an idea, or just bishop g5 even. If rook, oh dear, that's naughty. I'm seeing a bit of analysis here though. That is naughty. I can't help it. I don't know. I saw rook e8, but there's bishop g5 here, and would seem to force rook f8. It looks just very dangerous, and also then there's almost like there isn't a bishop e6. Now e6 is under black's control fully, but I think I'm going to play bishop g5 anyway, because also I'm trying to restrain h4 maybe, and maybe I don't know. So rook f2 next. I think it's a good introduction to this f file pressure, just to play bishop g5 to get black tied down a little bit with rook f8. But there's no tactical, otherwise there's no tactical implication. But h4 might generate some counterplay. I've got to be wary of the g file opening up. I don't think there's e5 and queen g6 just yet. This bishop's holding up the light squares. Let's just double and allow h4, which seemingly is a bit dangerous though, I've got to admit. Although there was bishop f6 to consider as well. But let's consider like h4, rook a f1. So hg, queen g3. I'm still on f7. What about rook h7 there? I'm on d6 from g3. I don't know if b5 is going to be useful, or c4. That's all too slow, the pawn moves, I think. Somehow I've got to use these two bishops for probing these weaknesses. But I think h4 looks like a good move, unfortunately. There's time for it, because rook a f1, taking first, maybe queen g3, then rook h7. Although it's passive looking, although the queen is like loaded up there more than this position, because there's two things protecting the bishop. If my queen's on g4, I wonder if there's a tactical issue of that, the queen supporting g4 there. Maybe just like king h1. Then if rook g7, then start panicking about the g file. So anyway, I've only got 4 minutes left, but the team's coming to about 11. So I'm hoping for some more blunders. that's ruined my plan. So maybe takes, and there's queen g6 ideas. d5 is a new target. If I play e5, I don't know about 97 to f5 blockades. So keeping some pressure by playing this move, I think. Maybe c4. If I get the battery going anyway. Although it's been extinguished, the pressure's been extinguished to a large extent. So unless I play c4, I'm not going to get this diagonal pressure back, and I'm not really threatening anything at the moment. It doesn't look too good. Unless queen g6 really is a possibility. Actually, it might actually be. Takes rook f8, king c7. There's no bishop f4s. Whoa! Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to try and blast this diagonal open anyway. Bishop looks a bit bad on g4. With this move, the weakness of the last move is e6 control. Things are really hotting up now. Exchange sack possibilities as well, like rook f5 at some point. Okay, so takes. I think I'm losing control somehow of the position. And I've only got 3 minutes 51 left. Somehow this doesn't look as rosy. I don't know, this bishop seems trapped. Okay, I'm winning a pawn, I'll take the pawn. I'll worry about it later to do something with it now. Or should I be worrying about it now? I don't know. Pawn's a little bit academic. It's kind of, I don't know if it can't. I've just doubled my pawns basically and blocked in my own bishop. But rook f5 or d6 is d6, queen d6. There's no bishop f4 because the knight is on f4. But d6 opens up this bishop on the diagonal. So queen d6. There's no bishop e7s or anything. I'm not sure what I want to do with this position. Let's see. What do I want to do with this position? Where's the strategic crush? Where are the positional sacks? Doesn't seem to be any positional sacks to speak of, apart from rook f5 just losing a piece, or d6 just losing a pawn for nothing. Strategic crush issues. I don't know. This bishop superficially is locked in by its own pawns, but h4 is a constant threat, extending the scope of the rook. Now b4 is weak as well. Maybe just b5 here. I think I'll just play b5. Quickly played. Bishop's holding f5 together. Oh, he's just going to play it out. Oh dear. Has the team disintegrated? What is my plan anyway here? I think I'm being attacked on the king side with h4. I think without a positional sack of rook f5, I can't use the f file. So I think I'm going to do it, because then it might be bishop f6 of rook f8 and then bishop e5. So I'm going to play this. Hope for the best. Bit of pressure. If I can get bishop f6 in, then bishop e5 would be dangerous on the diagonal. Otherwise, I can't extend the position without that positional sack. I don't know. There's rook f8. It looks dangerous though on f1. There's bishop f6. Hopefully saves the day there. I'm getting in further hot water. I don't know. I hope not. Actually, bishop f6 attacks the knight anyway. So if the knight moved, there might be queen e6, if not e7. So rook f8, bishop f6. Otherwise, I don't know. What am I threatening? King, this g2 looks almost exploitable. Okay. So rook can come to g2 now. Whoops. So I'll play bishop f6 maybe to play bishop e5. Also, I'm hitting the knight anyway. So rook g2, king h1. I've just interfered with the queen protecting the knight. So as long as rook g2 is not mating, and I've got an eye on d5 anyway. So rook g2, king h1. Knight moves, maybe queen e5. Not queen e5. Well, yeah, actually, even queen e5. Just taking bishop e5, I'll be getting back the exchange with advantage. So I think that broke down the door, that positional sack. I don't know how sound it was on f5. But otherwise, I was a bit stuck just looking at the opponent's fortress. So here, okay, the immediate danger, I don't know about h4, I just take the rook. Maybe I'll take the knight. In fact, so the rook's attacked as well. If rook f8, I don't know, queen g6 again, and I'm protecting the bishop with the rook as well as the queen. And d5 still under control from the bishop, protected. But also, I don't know, rook f8, there might actually be bishop e5 here. Rook f5, bishop d6, and then take the rook. And that would seem to be winning bishop e5. Rook f8, bishop e5. And then queen e5, there's queen takes f8, take again, then I take on e5 with the pawn. So rook f8, bishop e5. This looks like almost potentially game over here. Knight e7, queen e5, hitting the queen, hitting the rook. If takes, I'm winning queen back with advantage. Simplification. Okay. Right, that's a good one. What about just bishop d1 or something? Or rook c1? What do I want to do? Or just bishop e5 here? Bishop e5 is not on the card, so I want to disrupt this rook from over here. So I'm going to play this first, just to get rook g2 played, so I can play bishop e5, I think, without losing pawn. So bishop e5 is more effective. Rook g2, king h1, bishop e5 be more effective. Also, there's even the possibility with queen g6 and bishop e5. It's just, I need this rook off the e file. I need it off the e5 square in particular. So I'm down in effect 2 minutes 38 now. So okay, rook moves somewhere. Maybe bishop d3. Say it keeps on the e file. Then that's a problem. That is a problem. Do I just gobble? Maybe queen h5, queen h3. So the team's getting short on time as well. So 5 minutes to go. So where's the rook going? So it moves off the e file. I might have bishop e5. I'm just tucking away the king. Sorry, the rook's got to move. The king can't just be tucked. Bishop takes e2. So the rook moves somewhere. Say e8. Could I just gobble a pawn cheekily with queen h5 to cause a state of panic? So I might just take another pawn. What is black doing? It's just asking the question, what is black doing? Queen h5. I don't know if that's too materialistic. Knight f4. Attacking the queen. Bishop e5 there. Again, this skewer. So knight h5, bishop d6, rook e5, queen e5. See, queen h5 might actually induce some panic. But that, okay, say rook e8, queen h5. There's rook ef8 there. Again, I don't know. Queen takes g6, rook g6, bishop e5. So again, if I can snag a pawn and get the rook off the e file, even if it goes rook e8 to f8, if I can play queen g6 and bishop e5, I think I'll be laughing here. It'd be 2 pawns for the exchange, getting the h pawn. I'm not usually materialistic, but it would be 2 pawns for the exchange. So I'm the exchange down at the moment, which I love, obviously being the exchange down. But the opponents are getting shorter on time. They're matching me up almost on time. So rook e8, queen h5, rook e f8, queen g6, rook g6, bishop e5. So I would be 2 pawns for the exchange. So say takes, there'll be 2 connected pass pawns. If not takes, say king c7, that would leave my pawns fragmented, but maybe I don't need to exploit the pin immediately. I can play something like rook f7 there, and then take on d6. So I don't know, I think that's going to be dangerous, this continuation. Now if rook g2, king h1, let's just quickly review this. Again, there's possibilities of either queen g6 and bishop e5, or even bishop e5 immediately. That would forcibly get 2 connected pass pawns. Or maybe even more simple, I'll be threatening queen h3, threatening the rook. The rook moves up, and maybe I munch this pawn as well. And this rook h8 there, and the rooks are both coordinating. The one on g2 and h8. No, there's bishop takes h8. So these 2 pawns are a bit vulnerable. I think we're seeing that from these variations, that these pawns are vulnerable. And this kind of reverse logic actually is not evident so much from the blitz games, but you do get some insight from variations. So it feeds back kind of to the assessment of the position. George Botto, who was on a Rest of the World game once, I loved his discussions. He mentioned about that. So I think queen e5 here, or bishop e5. I think bishop e5, knight f5, and protecting the queen. So queen e5, I can get my exchange back, and 2 pass pawns in the centre now. So king c7, maybe rook f7. Or I'll try and force the queen to come off, trying to repair my pawns. Maybe just wait a bit more. Okay, can I be a bit cheeky here? Bring the king up. I'm taking the mickey now. In fact, there's rook f7. Why didn't I just play rook f7? No, the knight's protecting. So I'm bringing the king up for the endgame, hopefully inducing a state of panic in the team. Seems going to lose on time at this rate. If rook f8, there's rook takes f8. So what can black do but watch here? I don't need to play that move immediately. Bringing the king up. I've just blundered the whole piece now. Whoops, takes, being too clever. But I get my 2 pawns. So rook f7, I lose c4. Whoops. But then maybe oh god, I think it's time to consider, you know, taking that queen after rook f7. Except these 2 pieces are fault. I'm about to lose a piece here, it seems. I'll take this bishop to avoid my king side getting wrecked. I think I'll snag this pawn. Okay, can I do something with this pawn over here, or just try and stop losing h2? Okay, so get my h pawn running. So I've got 148 against the team's running short of time, so I can get to play h6 and bishop d3. Whoa! I don't think I can allow take back on that. Right, I could, I guess. I think the team's tradition's gone. It was a dramatic game, and they could have just won a bishop there in time pressure, but maybe they didn't like that option. I don't know. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there was some extra insight, maybe that's not in the blitz games. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube, and come and visit the Kingscrusher Cafe to join in these games. Okay, thanks very much.